Chapter 34 Samadhiraja. Then the Bhagavan said to the youth Kandraprabha, Young man, bodhisattva mahasattvas who wish for this samadhi, and wish to attain quickly the highest complete enlightenment of perfect Buddhahood, should abide in the absence of attributes and be dedicated to making vast offerings to a present Tathagata, or to the stupa of a Tathagata who has passed into nirvana. Young man, those bodhisattva mahasattvas should develop an aspiration focused upon all beings, as they wish for this samadhi, and, wishing to attain quickly the highest complete enlightenment of perfect Buddhahood, they should abide in the absence of attributes, without aspiration for the ripening of karma, and use even their own body and life to perform vast actions of making offerings to a present Tathagata, or to the stupa of a Tathagata who has passed into nirvana. With their mind and attention focused on compassion, with a loud, clear voice, elevated and pleasant, and with especially noble vocabulary and a continuity of words, they should teach extensively to others, propagate and explain the samadhi, the revealed equality of the nature of all phenomena. Why is that? Because, young man, this king of samadhis, the revealed equality of the nature of all phenomena, is the basis and root of the entire Dharma. Young man, when bodhisattva mahasattvas who have great compassion and diligently rely on methods are dedicated to making vast offerings to a present Tathagata, or to the stupa of a Tathagata who has passed into nirvana, they should teach extensively to others this king of samadhis, the revealed equality of the nature of all phenomena. At that time, young man, those bodhisattva mahasattvas should abide in the doorways to liberation that are emptiness, the absence of attributes, and the absence of aspiration, and should not apprehend any phenomenon whatsoever. The bodhisattva mahasattvas who abide in the practice of the samadhi that is free of apprehending will abide in all aspirations. Young men, the bodhisattva mahasattvas who abide in all aspirations will fulfill all the aspirations of all beings, will quickly attain this samadhi, and will quickly attain the highest complete enlightenment of perfect Buddhahood. Young men, you should be able to understand this through the following teaching. Young man, in the past, uncountable, vast, immeasurable, inconceivable, innumerable, countless aeons ago, at that time and in those days, there appeared in the world the Bhagavan, the Tathagata, the Arhat, the perfectly enlightened Buddha, Gosadatta, who is perfect in wisdom and conduct, a Sugata, a knower of the world, an unsurpassable guide who tamed beings, a teacher of devas and humans, a Buddha, and a Bhagavan. Young man, the Tathagata, the Arhat, the perfectly enlightened Buddha, Gosadatta, established countless, innumerable beings in the cessation of defilements, in arhatship, and having established them in that state, he passed into nirvana. He also established countless, innumerable beings in irreversible progress toward the highest complete enlightenment of perfect Buddhahood, and then passed into nirvana. Young man, at that time and in those days, in Jambudvipa there was a king named Srigosa. In order to make offerings to the Tathagata who had passed into nirvana, he built 84 quintillion stupas that contained the relics of the Tathagata, and he presented 84 quintillion lights to each of those stupas. In the same way, he offered 84 quintillion musical instruments, percussion instruments, flowers, incense offerings, perfumes, garlands, ointments, powders, robes, parasols, banners, and flags to each of those stupas. Young man, in that way King Srigosa made offerings to the stupas that contained the relics of the Tathagata. Then he gathered 80 quintillion bodhisattvas and dedicated himself to making offerings of all the most pleasing necessities to those bodhisattvas. Every one of all those bodhisattva mahasattvas was a dharma banaka. They had uninterrupted eloquence, the attainment of samadhi, and the attainment of unimpeded retention. They were teachers of the pure dharma, and had attained the perfection of the supreme powers of a bodhisattva. Young man, at that time, within that assembly, there was a bodhisattva mahasattva named Samadhiraja. He was a young boy with black hair in the first stage of youth. He had become a youth who did not indulge in desires, but was a young celibate who had been keeping the vow for a year. Young man, at that time, King Srigosa made a request to that great assembly of bodhisattvas. He made a request to those bodhisattva mahasattvas that he might, combining the six perfections, accomplished the great retention of the Bodhisattva Pitaka, skill in methods, and unimpeded power and guidance. That evening he lit a quintillion lights before the stupas that contained the relics of the Tathagata. He also swept clean the circumambulation walkway, moistened and washed it, scattered flowers upon it, and arranged various seats. King Srigosa then came there accompanied by his harem and the people of the villages, towns, and regions, holding musical instruments, percussion instruments, cymbals, flowers, incense, perfumes, garlands, ointments, powders, robes, parasols, banners, and flags. They made offerings to the stupa which contained the relics of the Tathagata. Afterwards, in order to hear the Dharma, accompanied by his harem of queens, he ascended to the roof of the palace. Gatherings of devas and humans also assembled in order to hear the Dharma. The Bodhisattva Samadhiraja saw them and the lights from the numerous quintillions of offered lamps that shone as one pervading radiance. Knowing that many devas and humans had assembled in order to hear the Dharma, he thought, I have entered the Mahayana, and because I now long for this Samadhi, I shall make an offering to the Tathagata. It will be such an offering to the Tathagata that it will amaze the worlds of devas, humans, and asuras, and bring them joy, delight, pleasure, and happiness, and they will attain the light of the Dharma. I shall make an offering that will surpass all the offerings made to the Tathagata by King Srigosa, and amaze King Srigosa, his harem of queens, and his attendants, and bring them joy, delight, pleasure, and happiness. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva Samadhiraja was joyful and happy, and knowing that the great assembly of people had gathered to hear the Dharma, that evening he sat in front of the Tathagata's stupa, bound his right hand in cotton, and immersed it in sesame oil. Having immersed it in sesame oil, he set it alight. At this point, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Samadhiraja developed the supreme intention. He developed the supreme intention for the highest complete enlightenment, and, seeking complete enlightenment, although his right hand was burning brightly, his mind and the expression of his face remained unchanged. Young man, as the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Samadhiraja's right hand burned brightly and was transformed into a single flame, at that time this great earth shook. The light from his burning right hand made that of the many quintillions of offering lamps seem dark, and its great illumination spread in all directions, its radiance illuminating and pervading every direction. He became joyful and happy, and with a gentle and pleasing voice, a uniquely superior vocabulary, and a continuity of words and letters, he taught the Samadhi, the revealed equality of the nature of all phenomena, so that the entire assembly understood it in detail. The 1,200 Triyasrimsa Devas assembled there to listen to the Dharma were made joyous and happy, and made various divine offerings. The aspiracies engaged in singing divine songs. King Srigosa, who was keeping the 8 Bodhisattva vows, was in the middle of his harem of queens, with his court before him, seated on the roof of his palace. He saw that the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Samadhiraja's hand was burning and outshining all other lights, creating a brightness that transcended the lights of devas and the lights of humans. He thought, this Bodhisattva Mahasattva has attained great higher cognition and felt intense joy, faith, veneration, and reverence for the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Samadhiraja. Supported by his great accumulation of merit and roots of merit, he leapt from the roof of the palace, together with his harem of 80 queens. He leapt because of his joy on having seen the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Samadhiraja. Because of the roots of merit that were produced by his veneration, he and his retinue were caught by devas, nagas, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, and maharagas. After they had been caught by devas, nagas, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, and maharagas, King Srigosa and his retinue, even though they had jumped from a building that was 100,000 cubits high, were physically unharmed, mentally unharmed, and were not unnerved. King Srigosa extended both his hands, and together with a great assembly of people, saw the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Samadhiraja's hand on fire and burning brightly. All of them cried out loudly and wailed. Then the king, together with a great assembly of people, weeping and shedding tears, came before the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Samadhiraja. Young man, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Samadhiraja saw King Srigosa, and having seen him asked, Great King, why are you and this great assembly of people here before me crying out loudly, wailing, sorrowful, and weeping? King Srigosa spoke these verses to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Samadhiraja. These beings have cried out because they have seen that Samadhiraja, the one with great wisdom, the learned one, the Dharma Banaka, has lost a limb. Seeing that his body that emits this brilliant light has had a hand destroyed, I also feel great suffering. The light from your burning hand has shone into the 10 directions. The divine light you have emitted has obscured the light of these lamps. The earth has been shaken, and you are not disheartened. There arose in me the thought, that is no ordinary wise man. I leapt 100,000 cubits from the roof of my palace, together with my harem of queens, but my body was not harmed. How excellent your wonderful wisdom! How excellent your unsurpassable mind! How excellent your dedicated diligence! How excellent your great aspiration! Your hand is burning, but you are not disturbed. You are happy and joyous, and again teach the Dharma. Worthy friend, you are as beautiful as the moon that is full, or the sun high in the sky, or Sumeru, the king of mountains. Wise one, may I also fulfill such a prayer? Rejecting my care for the body, I will accomplish benefit for beings. I delight in joy for the Dharma. My happiness in that is inconceivable. That you have lost a limb causes me the highest suffering. Samadhiraja, through Devas and Nagas, made offerings to the king, and he spoke these verses with infinite confidence. Someone who has no hand is not the one who lacks a limb. Someone who has no correct conduct is the one who is lacking a limb. This putrid body of mine I have offered to the Tathagatas, the inconceivable recipients of offerings, the ones to whom offerings should be made by all the world. Seeking the wisdom of Buddhahood, I offer the Lord of the worlds infinite billion-world universes, entirely filled with jewels. There are these material offerings, but there are other inconceivable offerings. Those who know that phenomena are empty give away their bodies and their lives. I shall speak words of truth. Great King, listen to me. All the people gathered here understand the meaning of these verses. If it is true that I will become a Buddha, one who is revered by the world, may that truth cause this earth to shake in 6 ways. He spoke those words, and the earth shook. Millions of devas were overjoyed, amazed, and astonished. The joyous devas and humans developed the aspiration for enlightenment. Immeasurable, incalculable numbers were established in supreme jnana. The benefit accomplished by the bhikshu Samadhiraja is the unending and inconceivable engagement with the wisdom of the Buddhas. If it is true that this phenomenon that is called hand does not exist, then may that truth cause my hand to be instantly restored as it was before. If it is true that this phenomenon called Samadhiraja does not exist, though one seeks for it in the 10 directions, it will not be found because it is empty. Whatever sound arises, know it to be empty. Sound is like an echo, know phenomena to be like that. When there is fearlessness, emptiness is fully comprehended. Through those words of truth, may the entire world not be burned. May all the beings in the 3 existences, the devas and the humans, all rest in a state of meditation because of the brilliance of omniscience. All the misfortunes that devas and humans have, may they all come to cessation through the brilliance of irreversibility. After Samadhiraja spoke those verses, his hand grew back, and Samadhiraja's body became adorned by the primary signs. 10,000 million devas who were residing in the sky threw down at that moment coral tree flowers upon the bhikshu. Those divine flowers filled up this world. A quintillion asparaces engaged in performing songs. When Samadhiraja emitted these words, 10,000 million Buddhas witnessed this miracle. In each of their realms they made his great fame known, to their bhikshus and bhikshunis, upasakas and upasikas. This bhikshu Samadhiraja is wise and has great might. He burned his hand in order to gain the wisdom of Buddhahood. Thousands of realms, as numerous as the Ganges sands, were illuminated by that lamp, which was like the fire at an aeon's end. All the realms became filled with flowers and sandalwood power up to knee height from the ground. Jewels and flowers of every kind filled the Buddha's realm. Nagas brought down a rain of pearls as an offering to Samadhiraja. This realm became adorned by a display of every kind of jewel. Jewels and pearls were spread out as an offering to Samadhiraja. Devas, Nagas, and Yakshas, Kinnaras, and Maharajas, as numerous as the Ganges sands, were established in the highest enlightenment. The Sakya lion, the Buddha, was on Vulture Peak Mountain. In front of his assembly of bhikshus, the Jina roared his lion's roar. It is I who was Samadhiraja, and Ajita who was Srigosa. For 10,000 million aeons I practiced the bodhisattva conduct. Countless women, the moment they saw Bhikshu Samadhiraja, ceased being women. The Lord of humans prophesied that they would not return, but that they would all become self-arisen guides of the world. The wise who have heard this sutra, the teaching on the disciplines of mendicancy, should have no cherishing for the body, and should study well this Dharma. Conclusion of the 34th chapter, Samadhiraja.